Hello, everyone. We have Kwanzaa King coming in. Hi, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Tell me how you say your first name.
My screen name is Anello Grande, but
Anella.
my actual name is Gunnar.
Okay.
So you can feel free to call me that instead.
Okay. What do you prefer, Gunner or Anello?
I would probably respond better to Gunnar.
Okay, Gunner. Great.
Yeah.
Your title caught me.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
I actually, about 3 years ago, I had picked up running. So I joined a
Okay.
running group. And so I started running, did a half marathon, a couple of 10Ks,
Wow.
5Ks. But last year, I actually completed my first triathlon sprint.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the bike came in. I always knew how to ride a bike since I was younger.
Right.
But cycling has really become like my first choice now. I've
Great.
kind of gotten bored with running. So I'm
Great.
still learning. I mean, I have a Trek hybrid.
Okay.
And when I actually was competing in the sprint, I realized, wow, this is a heavy bike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I am I'm an enthusiast. I'm really looking to upgrade and I love being outdoors. So when you said winter training indoors, I'm like, yep, I'm not looking forward to that.
Right.
So any information or stories or tips, I'm all in.
Great. Well, I titled it this because I don't know where you're from, but in Minnesota where I'm at, we're
Cold.
having a very warm autumn so far. And so temperature wise and weather wise, it seems as though it would be too early to start thinking about having to ride indoors. You know, in the absolute winter when it's it gets down to zero here. So when it's zero, you don't necessarily want to be outdoors for very long. There are people that ride outdoors all year long, and I've kind of done it. But to get a really good workout, you'll probably want to do something indoors, either on a trainer or on a stationary bike or something that way. But with this unseasonably warm weather we're having, it kind of brings up this this question, because even though we have nice weather, if you're not able to go out in the middle of the days are getting so short
Yes.
that you're almost forced to still ride indoors.
Yeah.
And so that's why I brought up the question. I did my first official indoor ride on Tuesday, 2 days ago. And I did it. But then some of my friends, because I use Strava to track rides, some of my friends on Strava commented, it's too early to ride indoors. And I have to agree, but yet disagree.
Yeah.
Because unless you have lights and the full setup, and even then, sometimes it's hard to get a workout in when you're riding outdoors in the dark. So that's kind of my question, my thought. Do you have any sort of indoor trainer or indoor equipment to use?
No, so actually, I'm faithfully in a spin class at our local
Okay.
Y here. I'm actually in New Jersey,
Okay.
so I totally can relate to the winters.
Right.
And so we're kind of like in that, unseasonably warm autumn also. So like today, it's like 72 degrees, which is perfect for anything outside. There's
Right.
no humidity. And I was even thinking maybe I need to go out and ride or run or do something today. So I don't want to lose the day. But so faithfully, every week I'm taking a spin class because I just like to kind of keep myself in the mindset of that. So my baseline is like at least 10 miles in the class. I don't care how long it is.
Right.
But I'm trying to keep that 10 miles up. And then when I get on the road, I like to try to do, 15 to 20. 20 is kind of like a push, but, and then I'm timing myself with that. So I've learned about a trainer. I haven't purchased one. I've seen a lot of people who are having those accidents on trainers, right? So I'm kind of like a little like, whoa, I don't know if I want to really go that route,
Right.
You actually need a skill. And then I understand there are different types of trainers. So I'm still learning to kind of, the terminology, the different things. But my model is just to keep active. This for me, Gunnar, is like a lifestyle.
Great.
Like, I want to be cycling well into my 80s or what have you, you know? And so I think it's great. I love group exercise. I love group physical activities, from running to cycling to swimming. Like, I just learned to swim like maybe 6 months before I did my sprint, my triathlon sprint. Okay. So, you know, I just felt like this is something that I want to create as a habit and just do it.
Right. Well, definitely, you know, I know as far as trainer accidents, so there's basically two types of bike trainers that you can put your bike on to ride.
Yes.
And so one is rollers. And I would recommend staying away from rollers until you are really confident on a bike. And the reason why...
there's nothing to kind of hold you up.
Right, there's nothing to hold you up. You're not bolted in. You're literally spinning on drums, and you have to maintain a balance. And it is actually harder than riding on the road, because on the road, you have momentum that will keep you going.
Right.
Whereas on the rollers, the wheels' momentum doesn't really matter. I mean, it affects it a little bit, but it's mostly balance and staying on the rollers. And personally, it usually happens once or twice a year. I will literally ride off the rollers and crash.
See?
And that's having experience. So, you know, until you're really confident on a bike, I would stay away from rollers.
Okay.
The other style of trainer is, or other category, I should say, is the actual bike trainer, where it mounts the bike onto the trainer, and it either bolts in through the rear axle, or sometimes you take off the back wheel and you mount the frame in there.
Right.
That is a lot more stable. You don't have to worry about balancing. It basically turns your bike into a stationary bike, so similar to a spin bike.
Sure.
The benefit of that over like a spin bike or a standard stationary bike is that you're already set up seat-wise, handlebar-wise, whatever. You're used to your bike. So that will maintain that.
Yeah.
And they're really good. And they have fan models, magnetic models, and fluid models.
Wow.
So, and the differences between those is that generally the fan models are very loud.
Okay.
So what it does is it uses a fan to churn the air to provide the resistance.
Right.
Then the magnetic uses magnets, and then fluid uses some sort of canister that has fluid in there to provide the resistance. The fans are really loud. The magnetic ones are less loud. And then the fluid ones are even less loud, and it has a more natural feel to it.
Okay. And what's the price range should I be looking for trainers?
Inexpensive ones you can find for about $100, and they go up from there. There's different features. So, you know, some of them are more expensive. If you take the rear wheel out and actually mount the bike frame in there, those are going to be a lot more expensive. And then there's ones that they allow you a little bit of side to side movement. So like when you stand up, instead of being locked in place, it allows you to lean to either side a little bit to kind of mimic your riding as you're riding on the road.
Sure.
But those are going to be more expensive also.
Okay.
So I think, you know, a $200 trainer, whether it's magnetic or fluid, is probably a good price range that will get you something that hopefully you will use. That's the other thing too, though, is using it. A lot of people get indoor equipment, whether it's a treadmill or whatever, and then you don't use it, and then it's kind of worthless.
Collecting dust.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think this would be a good investment for me, because I happen to use my treadmill quite a bit in the winter. I shut it down for the spring and the summer. I don't use it at all, which is probably why I've been able to preserve it for so long. And then I open it up for the winter, because I just probably run more indoors than trying to layer up and be outside. But I am not taking my bike outside in the winter, because the air, I mean, it's a different type of, you know, that air rushing at you on your bike is very different than running. I'm not running at the miles per hour that I am cycling. So, but But yeah, that's fantastic. Now, do you compete?
I generally do 1 or 2 events a year. But other than that, a long time ago, I did race a lot and competed a lot, trying to move up in the ranks. But I kind of gave that up, and now it's mostly just for fun.
Okay.
I do have an event coming up on Sunday that should be fun. Hopefully, I can achieve the goal that I have set out for it. But
What is it? How many miles? What's your goal?
So it's a 50-mile gravel road bicycle race.
Wow.
And I'll be using my mountain bike on it. There are people that have like road bikes that they can use on gravel, and I've done it before. And then there's cyclocross bikes. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No, not so.
They're kind of like a road bike in that they have the drop style handlebars,
Right.
but the tires are a little bit more like a mountain bike, but
Okay.
not quite as wide.
Okay.
But I have either a road bike or a mountain bike. So I'm choosing to do the mountain bike for it. It's 50 miles. I did it last year in just under 3 hours. And so my goal is to do it under 3 hours again and hopefully better my time from last year.
Sure.
So hopefully I've been riding enough. Sometimes life gets in the way. So I haven't done anything really long this year, but I have done a number of 50 to 60 mile rides. So
Wow.
hopefully I have that ready to go. So
I'd like to get to 50. I know I have some friends who are like, whispering centuries. I'm like, 100 miles? I don't even know if I could sit that long, but I guess that's when you actually break it up in the century, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can. Most of the organized century rides will have checkpoints and rest stops. If not every like 10 miles, at least like 25, 50, and 75 mile points. And so if you can go, for 25 miles and take a break and stretch and eat something, and then continue on, that's kind of the way to do it, at least to get into it. Then later on, you can work on building up to the point where you can ride for 100 miles straight. And personally, what I tend to do is when I'm training, I go by time instead of mileage. And part of that is because I do both mountain biking and road riding. So, 10 miles on a mountain bike and 20 miles on the road may be similar as far as time frame, but obviously the distance is different.
Right.
So I'll say, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do a 20-mile ride today, I'm going to just focus on time. And so I'll go for, an hour or 2 hours. And so usually if I can, like, my goal for this ride is to do it under 3 hours. So I've done a couple of 4-hour rides over the summer. So I think I'm pretty well prepared for it. If I was going to try to do a century ride or 100 miles, I would work more towards the 5 to 6 hour time frame to be able to ride for that long of a time
frame.
Yeah.
So just curious, so I can kind of set goals for myself. Like 10 miles for you, how long does it take you to ride that?
10 miles, probably about half an hour. And that's the other thing too, is that shorter distances start becoming faster.
Yeah.
So like for a 10-mile ride, I may be able to do that for 20 miles an hour. So, it's kind of easy to say, okay, well, half an hour, depending on traffic and if the route has stop signs or whatnot.
Sure.
But
yeah.
If it's pretty much straight out the door, 10 miles, I could probably do it in about a half an hour.
Okay.
But then, if you go to 30 miles, I would probably average 18, 19 miles an hour.
That's fast.
It can be fast. There's a lot of riders faster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking to a gal who's like averaging 13, 15. And I mean, that's on my hybrid, and I really feel the push of that, but I see you have some more people who joined.
Yeah, I am Nate. A Block joined in. I'm not sure if they're still in, but glad to see that they're here. and Mike, I think his name is Mike Balkus, was here.
Okay.
He's a cyclist from Colorado. He was on here. I know that occasionally when I'm on, he'll pop in and say hi.
Oh, okay.
Take off. I know he's really active on Blab, so he's in and out of all sorts of Blabs.
Okay.
And you were talking about riding a hybrid bike, which is great. My wife has a hybrid bike, and I've thought about getting one, but I tend to ride pretty much the road bike or the mountain bike, and the mountain bike. So when my wife and I ride together and she's on her hybrid, I'll usually ride on my mountain bike.
Okay.
And then we're able to keep up together.
Yeah. So mountain bikes would be the heaviest, and then the hybrid would be lighter. And of course the road bike is the lightest. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And you will, if you are looking to upgrade your bike in the future, you will notice a huge difference from going from a hybrid bike to an actual road bike. I know that sometimes the skinnier tires are a little, they make people nervous. People think that they're very fragile, but they're not as fragile as most people think. So,
I'm actually like looking forward to it because, when I did the try, I mean, did pretty well with the swimming, but there were women who were in, later heats, and they were just on your left. But of course they were flying by on, road bikes. And I mean, I think I had it in the highest gear, and I was really trying to keep up, but I was fatigued, so.
Having a road bike will definitely help you. You'll be able to go faster, so your average speed will probably increase. I would say at least 2 miles an hour on most of your rides, and then because it's easier and lighter, generally your training will get better. So you'll, and I guess it's kind of a circle thing. You'll feel better riding it, and so you'll ride it more, and you might ride it harder, and then it'll kind of come full circle.
Right.
So it'll motivate you to ride more, and then you'll feel better riding, and all that kind of stuff. So great. I think it's great that you're out there doing triathlons and
I did one in this year. I just between launching my business and just a lot of changes within my own family, as you probably know, training requires a lot of commitment. Yes. Not only from you, but from your family. I have 2 children, a husband, and so. When I was training for my tri, it was like, oh, I'm not eating dinner. So, help yourself at whatever. So this year I kind of, in my head, I wanted to do, because I really want to stick with at least one a year. But I just couldn't fit it in. And so I had been really focusing on at least getting my bike out a couple of times a week. Running or, getting into the Y to join the spin classes, and then the swimming kind of fell off. So I tried that. I went back to that, and I was just kind of like, whoa, learning to swim in your adult years is definitely, that is something, a whole nother box. So, but yeah, I really enjoy it. Like I said, I know for me, this has to be part of a lifestyle because there's no other way really. It's just something pretty amazing just to get on your bike. And I ride with earbuds. I'm listening to music and just feel that air and that road beneath the wheels. And you're just going. And it's just like, I love it. I really do.
Yeah, that's great. There is a freedom to it. And I think I understand where you're coming from in that there's just a feeling. And, part of it obviously is endorphins and getting your body moving. But I think there's more to it. Part of it is the freedom, and part of it is a little bit of adventure. Even if you're riding the same course all the time, you see different things, and I mean, you notice different things. And so I think, that to me at least, that's the great thing about cycling. Is that adventure and that just getting out and moving.
And even taking a turn, you talk about, taking your trail, but sometimes I'll just, let me go down this road, or let's see what's over here. And it's really, you do take in more, I think, on the bike than of course driving. And I think maybe even a little bit more with running. I'm not usually kind of focusing on breathing with running, but there's just something about cycling. I know I'm working hard. I know I'm getting a workout, but I'm able to be more in the moment on my bike.
Right.
as opposed to even just being on pavement running. So,
Right. Well, I think, and two, there's something, I guess, hypnotic and almost meditative about the cycling activity. I mean, your legs are going around and around, and your mind, you need to focus, but you can also wander a little bit. And
yeah.
so I get a lot of thinking done when
Yeah.
I'm out on my rides, and that's probably the reason why I need to do it
Yes.
a lot. I mean, there'll be weeks or days that my wife will tell me, you know what, just go out and ride for an hour.
Yeah, you have my permission, honey. Go ahead, take a ride. Yeah.
Otherwise, unfortunately, I become a grump, or maybe I'm processing something and I don't think I'm coming across as grouchy or preoccupied. And she's just like, just go out and do that, and you'll feel better. And sure enough, I'll do that, and I will feel better, and something will process and click, and I'll be like, okay, that was good.
And that's a gift. Now, do you listen to music on your rides, or do you just kind of just go with the flow of whatever is kind of the background?
Generally, listen to whatever is going on around me, and that's not to say that I don't like. I have listened to music and I have listened to podcasts, but usually I just, whatever the wind, the nature, cars, whatever, I listen to that. And I think part of that was, so back in the day when I started, the only way to do it was to have like a Walkman, a cassette tape and the thing. And it was hard to find earphones that would work with a helmet. So I ride with a helmet all the time.
Same here.
And so it was hard to find anything that would work with a helmet. So I just got used to riding without.
Yeah.
So, and then, sometimes, and I don't ride, when I do ride with headphones or earbuds in, I don't ride with them in any sort of traffic situation. Or a lot of times I'll pull one out.
Exactly.
I have one.
Yeah. Or for me, I just turn it very low, so it's almost like just a little background noise. Maybe my favorite artist or something like that. But I really love. So have you traveled to race outside of Minnesota? Like, I know, like, there's tons. I want to do the 5-borough. That's in New York.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that.
I want to do something like that, but I definitely want to get a road bike for that. But have you traveled outside to do races or do?
I haven't. I'm actually pretty bad in that I generally stay within, 20 or 30 mile radius as far as events go. So most of the events that I've gone to are based in southeastern Minnesota. So, and even mountain biking, there hasn't been an event for mountain biking, which actually I like mountain biking the best out of all the disciplines of cycling.
Yeah.
So there are events probably within an hour or so of where I live, but I haven't done them just because it's like, okay, well, I got to travel, I got to pack up the car, I got to do this, I got to figure out what I'm going to do, and then I got to drive there and do it. And it ends up being kind of, I know that they're all barriers in my own head because it's like, well, why couldn't you do that?
Right.
But so I end up just riding in town or, close by. So I'm not the best when it comes to exploring outside of town. Although there are some great areas to ride around within an hour of where I live. So it's just a matter of actually going out and doing them.
No, I get it. I mean, I'm just like maybe half an hour, 40 minutes from the city, but I haven't had an event over there with my bike yet because, again, to your point, the packing up, then I got to get on the subway with my bike and la da 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 da, so it is, I get it,
Yeah, it seems like a barrier, and I know that if it was just I just start doing it, then it would become more natural, and you would overcome that barrier because it's just in your brain of, okay, well, how do I manage all this? And I used to manage it because back when I raced, I would go to different places where I lived at that time, and so it was a lot easier.
Yeah, I just think in life with anything, once you get out of doing it, like I haven't raced this year at all, not even a
Right.
5K. So I'm like, well, what does a bib even feel like anymore? Like, what does it feel like to pin my bib on my shirt or to
Right,
wear
right.
a hydration pack? Like I'm just kind of doing it myself. So yeah, to your point, like it's the block that we create because, we've gotten out of the notion or we're telling ourselves the story that, we can or we don't want to. And we believe that. So,
Right.
but, this has been great. Thank you so much for the time. I mean, as soon as I saw Cyclists, I don't see a lot of topics on Blab related to kind of like the sport or having group sports or people who are enthusiasts about, either cycling, running, or swimming.
Right. Right.
So this totally caught my eye. I was like, "Ooh, cyclists, yay!"
Great.
And I'm not part of different groups on Facebook, but they are really about that life, where every post is, did you do this? We did 50 miles today, and I'm like, oh, I can't keep up,
Right.
because with family, it's like I said, it's a commitment
Yes.
to really keep up. But yeah, this was it was a pleasure talking to you. I've seen you.
Great.
I think I've seen you on another Blab. I can't remember who it was, and I try to I am following you, so that's why I got the notification. And I think also I saw you on another Blab. So,
Great.
but thanks for the chat.
So while I got you on here, before we go off, so me and another person, we do a weekly Blab tonight. So Thursday nights at I guess it would be 9:00 your time because
Yep.
he's in upstate New York. At 9:00 Eastern time. I don't think it'll show up on my schedule, but if you search for Bike Chat 101,
Okay.
we're on. We just started 3 weeks ago, so we're trying to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Of having a cycling related weekly Blab to discuss anything to do with cycling.
Yeah.
And tonight, hopefully, I think I have a person coming in that's going to talk about a product that he's come up with for cyclists for on the handlebars that will help mountain bikers and probably for like your hybrid to be able to have another hand position while you're riding.
Yeah.
So that might be interesting.
Yeah, I would totally love that because I do find that, and I know it has a lot to do with the core and just really using muscles that we normally don't think that are related to cycling.
Right.
But I do find like my hands can be a little sore or even my forearms. So it'd be great to kind of change those positions from just kind of being like this, the whole ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. So 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, I'll look out for that Blab. And again, it's great to have, folks just on talking about not the heavy stuff, but also about, just things that we may just all have in common without really knowing it is,
Right.
So.
Well, and I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like I noticed that most of the Blabs that I see are just topics talking about Blab or talking about marketing. And not that those things are bad, but it just seems like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about that right now. So
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else. So.
Yeah, let's talk about, like cycling or swimming. I would love to talk to
or anything.
Or just or anything. Right. Baking. I mean, I guess as Blab matures, you'll have more people who will kind of take on those topics, which will certainly be interesting and add a level of diversity that we don't see right now. But yeah, to your point, I think it'd be great. So I will make a note to myself to look out for you guys at 9:00 tonight. If I can hop in, I will do that. But it's nice chatting with you, Gunnar, and meeting you.
It was nice talking to you too. And I'm going to have to take off here. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for chatting with me.
Great.
It was a pleasure.
Topic. Same here. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.